Hello everyone, back to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So, as was on a Friday, having a look at the weather for the month ahead with Japanese CFSV2 models. It's going to take us into the beginning of April, and I shall get on that for you very shortly. Just to say, but coming up later on today, we're going to have a 10 to 14 day video update. It will include all operating features as well, so that will be released later on today. No live stream tonight, having a few Fridays off now for the next few weeks. So I'll be, having a bit of a rest on a Friday night. No Friday night live stream for the time being. So our next scheduled live stream is on Sunday at 6 PM. Sunday live streams are unchanged. The ECMWF 42-day forecast is going to be released first video up tomorrow morning. Right, so let's go on JMA Friday. I'm going to start off by having a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies from the North Pole view down. These are broken down into weekly periods, of course. The first week period will take us from today, the 5th, through to the 12th of March. Below is extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure, yellow, orange, and red, to above average heights, which is high pressure. North Pole being just there, of course. Right, so week 1, 500 millibar height anomaly finds low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. Excuse me, going to be quite an unsettled week ahead. High pressure is down to our south and southwest, and that leaves us bringing in a westerly flow. So looking quite unsettled, Atlantic driven with spells of wind and rain in the week ahead. Week 2 will take us from the 12th through to the 19th of March. Still looking quite unsettled here. Again, below average heights in the Atlantic to our north and west. Above average heights down towards Spain and Portugal. Winds coming in from the west with quite a strong jet stream as well. So Atlantic driven, wet and windy conditions again in the week ahead. Probably quite cool with these westerlies. They're not coming from a particularly mild source. So coming from like the North Atlantic area, south of Greenland, that sort of area. So it's like a polar maritime type air mass that we're in with these westerlies. So despite the fact that it's Atlantic driven, not overly mild. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, looking a little bit strange then. Let's go from the 19th of March to the 5th of April. We've got a trough of low pressure in across northern and northeastern parts of Europe. Otherwise, not much else to work on. So this might be a bit of a transitional week. We might be moving, from like that Atlantic-driven, wet and windy weather from weeks 1 and 2. That might be lasting for a while into week 3, and then transitioning towards some higher pressure, perhaps beginning to raise the heights and sending the trough of low pressure up to the northeast. So maybe, particularly by the time we get through to week 4, I would have thought we might be starting to build up some higher pressure from the southwest. Something like that could be going on. It's, weeks 3 and 4 can be transitional. Right, so let's have a look at the tropical and mid-latitude view. So we can't see the Arctic and the North Pole, Greenland, Scandinavia, all those areas off the chart now up here. But we can make out UK and Ireland. We're in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So week 1 is just unsettled. Low pressure drives in from off the Atlantic, brings a lot of wet and windy weather with it. Despite being westerly Atlantic-driven sort of weather, actually the temperature anomaly is no better than average, possibly for England and Wales. Hard to make out. For England and Wales, possibly hints of being ever so slightly on the cooler for an average side, if anything. So certainly not a particularly mild week ahead. And it is also quite wet as well, of course, with low pressure ploughing in from the Atlantic. Rainfall is above average. Week 2 remains Atlantic driven with low pressure in control. This is the 12th to the 19th of March. Again, we see quite a bit of low pressure in the Atlantic and a pretty strong westerly jet stream as well. Now, this one is a little bit milder, actually. This is, again, the 12th to the 19th of March. So it's a little bit milder for England and Wales. No better than average, really, for the northern country. But maybe that's a slightly milder period that we have there. It is still quite wet, though, with the rainfall anomaly, again, looking significantly above average. And then weeks 3 and 4 goes this rather strange looking anomaly. There is low pressure like to our northeast up here. Otherwise, I thought we might be starting to build up some higher pressure, from the west or from the southwest. We might start to see something of the Azores high. The temperature anomaly is around average, maybe ever so slightly above, certainly not particularly exciting from the temperature anomaly perspective. And the precipitation anomaly is turning dry, so I think this is a transitional period. I think it's starting quite unsettled, and then we're going in towards higher pressure as we get into like the final week, I would have thought, of March. That could be when spring really starts to show its hand. Right, that's the JMA done. Let's have a look at the CFS-V2 in comparison. So again, these are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 5th through to the 11th of March. The coming week will have higher pressure. It's a little bit different to what the JMA is showing as early as week 1. Interestingly. So this one has above average heights, like extending down from the north and to our east, lower pressure down here. Remember, the JMA just shows this like straightforwardly unsettled. So that's a little bit strange, isn't it? That they should be differing quite significantly, actually, as early as like the next few days. Anyway, by the time you get through to week 2, which is the 12th to the 18th of March, then they're in agreement. Low pressure is dominating then. So a strong Atlantic-driven flow, bringing plenty of wind and rain in from off the Atlantic. Again, probably not overly mild, because the wind is coming off Greenland with this low pressure. And we are slightly on the cold side of the jet stream as well. So cool and unsettled week 2. Another change for week 3, this is the 19th to 25th of March, some higher pressure then ridging up from the southwest and going to our north. This will probably leave us, though, in like a northeasterly type wind. So, I mean, it's probably turning drier because high pressure is building in, but it would probably be quite chilly, I would have thought. Maybe even quite cold. And then we go through to week 4, which looks rather strange. This is the 26th of March to the 1st of April. High pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. High pressure towards western Russia. A little bit of a ridge around Greenland as well. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. There might be a bit of a trough through here. Got to be low pressure somewhere, hasn't it? So we might be under a trough there. But it is quite a bizarre sort of 500 millibar height anomaly, that one. Right, haven't closed in. Let's close in then. And have a look at the week 1 temperature anomaly, which is coming out colder than average. This is the 5th through to the 1st of March below average temperatures, quite significantly so. In those green colours, that's around 1 to 2 degrees below average. So cold and average temperature anomalies for week 1. Week 2 is around average. This is the very unsettled week, of course. It's the 12th to the 18th of March. Around average for the temperature anomaly then. Then we go through to week 3. We go colder than average again. That's as high pressure builds to our northwest and potentially turns the winds into a bit of a northeasterly direction. So we go colder again in week 3, 19th to 25th of March. Quite a chilly March, this really. And even to week 4, not really much of a recovering temperature then. It's 26th of March to the 1st of April. I mean, it's not quite as cold, but nevertheless, it's still average to below average. So there's no sign of anything particularly mild coming up with the CFS in the next 4 weeks, really. Precipitation-wise, for week 1, it looks like this. It's the 5th through to the 11th of March, around average in this week. Week 2 hints at being a bit wetter than average, 12th through to the 18th of March. That one's coming out with average to above average rainfall. Week 3 is the 19th to the 25th of March. That one hints at being a little bit dry now, especially so to our north and northwest. And week 4 is around average or has no signal. 26th March to the 1st of April, the further out we go, the weaker the signals get. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. It's interesting that both of the models are in disagreement for as early as week 1 in terms of the set. I assume they're sort of differing, in how quickly the unsettled weather comes in, I would have thought, and that makes a bit of a difference to the anomalies. So, but they are both bringing unsettled conditions, as we see by week 2, which they're both very unsettled by then. And then the second half of March really, is very, very uncertain with this. I think we've got hints that higher pressure will get more involved into the second half of March, so it probably starts to turn drier. But what happens with the temperature is quite interesting. The CFS in particular does look quite chilly with this March. You know, the early part and the second half of the month really looking quite chilly, whereas the JMA, I think hints of being a little bit milder for this month. So we'll wait and see anyway. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be an unsettled and quite chilly first half of March, maybe transitioning into something a little bit drier in the second half of March, but could still be quite chilly even then. We'll be back later on with, that's just how it looks today, so it's just a snapshot of what these models are showing. Any forecast beyond 5-7 days, fraught with danger, of course, becomes with health warnings, so it could all look very different next week. We're back later on with your 10 to 14 day update that will include all our regular features for JMA Friday for this week. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.